is really good because it solidifies your ability to, or verifies or validates your ability to solve problems. It's taking a very abstract vision of the future, but very concretely executing it. And those are really hard skills to quantify, but very much what you learn to do in the military, I would say, regardless of branch. So to me, it's the perfect certification to be marketable, but also have a very meaningful existence out there outside of the military. And
Welcome to the Vets2PM Military Transition Academy podcast, where we feature veterans and professionals who've made their mark in business and corporate America to help you achieve a meaningful, lucrative post-service career. On this episode, Garrik Dennis, Army veteran and Vets2PM PMP lead instructor, sits down with Misty to discuss why you should earn a PMP and why you should let Vets2PM help you do that, and how to get prepared for the PMP Exam Prep course. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Military Transition Academy podcast. I am Misty, and I am joined here by my colleague, lead instructor for the PMP, Garrik. And today we are going to talk about why you should get a PMP, why you should go with Vets2PM, and how to get prepared for one of our Exam Prep Bootcamp Plus courses. Welcome, Garrik, to the show. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so my name's Garrik. I'm the lead instructor at Vets2PM. I've been teaching the PMP classes and project related classes for about 7 years. I went through a class with Doc about 7 years ago now, and I've loved it ever since. So I teach, do some mentoring, and manage our amazing cadre of instructors.
And it's really great to just say you are a Vets2PM success story. I am. We've all used Vets2PM. Lots of us instructors have gone through the program. Lots of us employees have done the same. So we are proof that the product works, and you are an awesome lead instructor. So I remember getting my certification and then calling you up and being like, hey, I would like to teach. And then here I am. So let's talk about why veterans 100% should look into achieving a PMP certification. So a lot of people will say, well, will it get me a job? And the answer is it could, right? It depends. Yes, it makes you more marketable, but I would love to hear, you have all of this experience working with Vets2PM, and plus you are a veteran. So why should veterans earn a PMP, a project management professional certification?
So what I have heard, and you're the hiring expert, and
Yeah.
we're out in the civilian world as well. What I have heard is that it's still very lucrative. And I remember beginning to teach in the past, and I would tell classes like, hey, I'm not trying to sell you on something. I'm here to teach. So I guess when this isn't true anymore, I'll just stop teaching. The value has gone up, and so it's obviously a huge leg up in terms of getting hired. I would say more existentially, is really good because it solidifies your ability to, or verifies or validates your ability to solve problems. It's taking a very abstract vision of the future, but very concretely executing it. And those are really hard skills to quantify, but very much what you learn to do in the military, I would say, regardless of branch. So to me, it's the perfect certification to be marketable, but also have a very meaningful existence out there outside of the military, and obviously get paid well
Yeah,
for
and
it.
really from the start, of our careers, regardless of which service we join, and if we're enlisted or officer, we are always doing something when it comes to new initiatives, right? And we call those projects. And when we plan missions in the military, or we plan promotion ceremonies, or we plan releases for this or that, I mean, everything has a start and an end date. Something is, we're creating something new, right? It creates unique value, and it's going to help with, meeting the mission's objectives or the organization's objectives. Well, that is by far the definition of a project in the civilian sector. So it helps you identify your transferable skill set. And just like what Garrik said, it validates that you understand project management, and it validates it for the civilian hiring authorities that, hey, you know how to solve problems, you know how to make decisions, you know how to do it in a VUCA environment, right? And you know how to manage a lot of people, which we call stakeholders, in the civilian sector. So why not show and tell that skill set with your PMP?
Yeah. And it can be really, and in my wording of it, problem solving, it's like that transcends any industry. So I would say not only is it
Oh yeah.
lucrative and valuable, but it's also a key to a flexible career life. If you transition out and do a certain job for a tour's length, 3, 4 years, like, hey, cool, like I've been paying the bills and I'm a civilian now, got it. But I think I'd like to transition. It's that same PMP that'll help you do that in some other sector. So um, invaluable, and I think very much a staple for most veterans coming out of the military. It validates your ability to do all the stuff that you just referenced, which is highly, let's say, overvalued but underestimated. It's always
Yeah.
underestimated how hard that is. And everyone realizes that when you go try to lead the simplest project, it'll fall apart pretty quick unless you know the nuanced way to do it best. So
Yeah. And one thing to consider too is that project management, it's not just a duty title or a job title. It's not just an industry. It's not just a career. It's a role. It's a responsibility. It's a function, right? It's a skill set. And as an HR professional, I need a project management skill set. As a finance professional, you need a project management skill set. As a supervisor, manager, I mean, the list goes on. And so you already have these knowledge, skills, and abilities in project management. You may not have called it project management in the military. Why not validate it in a way that the civilian sector is going to understand? And then you're able to show and tell it in your interview, your LinkedIn profile, your resume, and then also when you actually land the role. And I always tell people my PMP didn't get me hired, but I 100% know that it got me promoted because I was able to show and tell that I can manage a lot of people, a lot of things in a very crazy environment.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Again, I think I agree that it's invaluable, and like you said, it ties to it could tie to your role and identity at your position when you get out, which is huge. I mean, that's an idea I've seen help a lot of veterans is really embodying the meaning that you're giving out there. And the PMP, I literally can't think of a better certification for that because it is all encompassing, like you said, whether it's learning the social nuance of the workplace and who you're dealing with and stakeholders, or a very regimented scheduling process. Like you're really using a lot of parts of yourself and your psyche and your fitness, and all of that's related to how successful your project is. So it's really all encompassing, and that certification reflects your skill in doing that. So it's not, to me, it's not fair to say it's a good certification. To me, it's like
Yeah.
the validating, you know, entity. It's a whole thing that shouldn't probably be put in the same category as other certifications. It proves way more than, like you said, it proves way more than just a skill set.
Yeah. And the PMP, it's the global standard of how to manage a project. So
Yeah.
once you understand how to do it according to the credentialing authority, then you're able to take that and you're able to adjust and adapt for your organization, for your project, for your team members, and for your stakeholders. But then you're also able to speak the language to your colleagues and to the executives and whatever it may be. And so, two things when I talk to veterans, throughout the week, two things that people often talk about is, do I have the competence and do I have confidence? And so earning a PMP certification is going to increase your competence for that global standard, right, in civilian project management. And then inadvertently, it's going to increase your confidence because you're going to feel like you now know how to speak like a true professional. You can communicate your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and you'll be able to truly, achieve the objectives of the organization, and you'll be very valuable for that organization.
Yeah, I like how you tied that. It's kind of like it'll validate to you and everyone else the current skill you have, but also give you kind of your badge, your warrant to improve on the other areas that you're maybe not already good at. It kind of gives you reason to go forth and improve. What it reminded me of is a saying, at least I used to always hear um, back in ROTC actually, was competence equals confidence. So I found it funny you tie those two words in like that. It reminds me of wearing a really nice suit or something. You do kind of hold yourself differently when you're wearing it,
Yeah.
or a uniform or whatever. And I think a similar effect happens when you achieve this certification. It validates what you do already have, but it also is that nice suit or whatever outfit to hold yourself to that new higher standard, which I think is huge for transitioning veterans, especially um, to help form your new chosen role and identity in something that's really all encompassing. Ultimate problem solver, project management professional, um, ready to go out there and make the world a better place. So
Yeah,
I
and in general, you just become a more effective professional. And so even if you're not managing projects like big projects, $42 million construction projects, you still have to manage your workload and you still have to manage your initiatives and you still have to manage things in your role. And so the PMP provides you this framework on how to do that, which will make you, will set you apart. Believe you me, when I worked in the civilian sector for almost, 5 years in a true, like civilian organization, it was very clear who was professionally trained and who took that training and executed it in their day-to-day operations. So it sets you apart in many different ways. So that's why we should earn a PMP. And one last thing that, I really want to stress to veterans is don't believe the people that say it's no longer valuable, it's saturated, whatever it is. If you want to know how valuable your PMP is, go and look at the job postings and see that most of them in a lot of positions are requiring some sort of higher education or some certification. And we call those we have basic qualifications and we have preferred. And if you have preferred qualifications, which is usually higher level degree or certification, then you're going to go on top of that hiring, pile. And then also you're able to prove your worth in the first 90 days of your probation period. And that's how valuable that PMP is.
Yeah, if I can on that, just
Mhm.
what came up a bit intuitively while you were saying that is it's also in most education, in my opinion, it's like you get out of it what you put in. So the
Oh,
title
yeah.
credential, like that's less important than the true authentic effort, right, that you put in. But if nothing else, it'll show you yourself and also a hiring person that you cared enough to go through the process. They're probably going to get from you what you have shown to put into it. So it's not like we assume you're just the best person ever because you have
Yeah.
PhD behind your name, but it does at least show your level of care of your own professional development too, so I think it's beneficial no matter how you no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, and I will tell you, as a recruiter, that those are the conversations that we had, especially, if we see someone that has a bachelor's, a master's, different certifications, those are things that help me ask questions. Tell me about how you worked and did, a master's degree all at the same time, or how you balance your military career with this PMP certification. And me knowing what goes into it, I understand the level of dedication that it takes. And so it's not that we care so much about your degree and your certification, but there's a lot of oomph behind that. You balanced your work day, you balanced your family, you balanced just wanting to relax, and
Sure.
you're professionally developing yourself, and that means a lot to a company.
Yeah, even just the personal management and initiative to undertake certification like that. So yeah.
Yes. All right, so veterans, that's why you should earn a PMP. And we are definitely in the veterans are supported era. So there's so many organizations out there, training companies that really want you to earn your PMP. And Vets2PM is one of them. We are 10 years strong, started in 2015 because our founder, he had a difficult, transition, couldn't really identify his transferable skill set. And when he was working on a project, in a project management role, he's like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we do in the military. And so 10 years later, 17,500 veterans later, we are helping you achieve a meaningful and lucrative post-service career, whatever that means to you, by earning your PMP certification and then helping you show and tell that in your interview, LinkedIn, and resume, and then really helping you, earn that role that you desire. So why Vets2PM, Garrik? You started with Vets2PM. I went through Vets2PM. Why Vets2PM?
Because this is the Vets2PM podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it is, but yeah.
Honestly, and we spoke of this just before we started, and it is of course my observation, but also countless students over the last 7 years, some of whom were friends and colleagues in the military, is my tangible brain wants to say very objectively, we charge the least, if not some of the least, and offer the most.
Yes.
That's kind of a hard thing to argue. Separate than that, we love the opportunity to serve other people. And what I mean by that, and I know is we care and we're a small team, but how that translates into more value is that you've got human beings on the phone, on email that'll actually get your back, whether it's applying to PMI for a certification and kind of contacting them if you're having some roadblocks and kind of translating like, hey, this is a military person. They maybe can't get a hold of their supervisors. Here's why. All the way to, how we teach in translating the wonderfully weird military culture into what they might see in a civilian culture, or at least in this doctrinal kind of project management world. So the translation of that, and anyone who's had to work with a translator downrange or wherever knows their value, that it's a very nuanced, intuitive thing. And I see we're the translators of
Yes.
military service members into not just placing them in jobs, but like, hey, how do you find meaning out there? What positions do you think you'd be interested in? Here's the nuanced, weird trail to get your PMP or PHR or these certifications. So it's hard to do that translating without a loving energy. If we resented what we did and, it was just a job and whatever, that would leak through. You would feel it. You'd sense it in anything you get from us. And we've obviously heard the opposite. I can vouch, I think you can vouch that we simply care. And I think that comes through in everything we offer. So whether it's that more objective argument of, dollar amount versus actual product you're getting, or the fact that we're pouring ourselves into this, we're putting our energy toward it in a very authentic way, I think I would use us. Knowing what I know now,
Yeah.
I would feel a little silly not using Vets2PM, because we are here to be used, wanting to be used, and have a lot to offer. So
Yeah, and our mission is we help you achieve a meaningful and lucrative post-service career. And those aren't just words, because you are proof of that. I'm proof of that. We have lots of other employees that are proof of that. And we hear from our students every single day that according to their definition of meaningful and lucrative, Vets2PM had some help, along that journey. So you're absolutely right for the dollar amount and for what you get. I believe we are best of the best, right? And so let's talk about that real quick. So when it comes to, our PMP exam prep course, we are the one-stop shop for the veteran and for that, that military service member. So we help you identify your transferable skill set. We do that through, the PMP and the other certifications that we offer. We help you validate that. So we're providing you a course plus all of the tools that you need to study for the exam. So our coveted 30-day study plan, right? And then we're going to help you show and tell it. So we provide career services, how to write a resume. We're not just going to write your resume for you, how to write a resume, because you need to know how to do that skill, how to interview, right? How to create a LinkedIn profile that is optimized and will attract, recruiters, right? And then we connect you. So now we have 60 plus partners, companies, organizations that want to hire you. So we offer skill bridge internships and then direct hire opportunities. So cradle to grave, we are there with you. And so by the time that you utilize our resources, you can be certified, you can be prepared for the civilian sector, right? So certified, trained, certified, prepared for the civilian sector, and then connected.
Yeah. And to sprinkle the tone of the last thing I said onto what you just said is you're also getting real human beings with
Yes.
fun stories and senses of humor. And like I don't know and don't usually ask like, hey, how many people are you personally like helping on the side? But I know for me, it's been quite a bit on the mentoring side of the house too, and that's just inherent in working with fellow veterans. But,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not really provided, not always provided or guaranteed in a lot of other places. So it's kind of like not only do you get cradle to grave, but we're actual human beings and we're not managing, whatever, 200,000 people. So you have a real caring human being to go, hey, I get the certification and the placement. Like, yep, I'm tracking, I'll do the things. But this feels really weird to get out of the military. Like, did you
Yeah.
have that? And we can like shift gears slightly and say, funny you ask. Like, let me share my weird story. So, and I think all of us from career services to instruction land to the more administrative side of the house, I think I've heard of everyone having a piece of that mentoring along the way. So we're not trying to be weird and, corner you into a therapy session or something, but it's just, again, that kind of loving element that we're just people here. It's
Yeah.
not a corporate enterprise. We're not all hanging out at the top of this
Yeah, I
mountain.
mean, we care because we were cared for, right? And so we want to pass it on. And we have what we have as veterans today because of the people before us. And so,
Right.
we take that into whatever we do. So speaking of our cadre, the one thing I remember, when I took the PMP exam prep course is just really being able to envision my military experience into the civilian sector, how I could translate that because my instructor was military and obviously a veteran. And that's really one of our core values is that we want you to be taught by you, right? Like someone that you can relate to. So, veterans are providing you this training, and then we're able to bridge the gap between what you did and how you can translate that to the civilian sector. And so you often tell us on our instructor meetings, like, we're top notch. So why don't you talk a little bit about your cadre?
Yeah, so I think I remember back to teaching everything myself during some rougher, COVID era
COVID?
that was that time period. All the way to now, I mean, each one of our instructors is phenomenal. And like, of course, I would say that, but some at least subjective proof is professors and teachers and stuff that
Yep.
I've had, and I'm a pretty big nerd and I love to learn. I would pick any of our instructors over a lot of other teachers or professors or whatever. And that's not to knock the other people there. It's just simply to highlight the quality of instruction that our instructors give. And let's be real, what that really boils down to is, for one, at least currently we have instructors across all, um, well, 5 of the 6 branches. We don't have any Space
Yeah.
Force instructors
Yeah.
yet.
We don't have Space Force yet.
Not yet. But we try to do match the community that we're going to go teach with obviously an instructor. So Coast Guard with Coast Guard, Army with Army. It doesn't always happen that way and it doesn't need to, but it seems to be, helpful. And I know I would have learned even better with someone who had almost an identical career as mine. Like that's intuitive. But really what it boils down to is, and I have one standing rule that I tell everyone when they're onboarded as an instructor or did in the past, no reading the slides. And that's pretty much it. And yes, I'm on the website, but I'm reading the instructor notes. But that's a little different because that's if you're missing a portion of class and
Yeah.
that's additional information. But the whole point of our cadre are to be those translators. So yes, it's a lot of PowerPoint, but it's a narrative, it's a story, it is a project itself in a week. And so it's really this kind of academic journey that the instructors are using to really share themselves. That's the whole point. And like, if that sounds intuitive, think of the opposite. The opposite is someone just standing up there kind of insultingly reading slides to you. right? So
Yeah.
uh, that goes into mentoring during class,
Yep.
goes into obviously answering any questions, but giving their stories and examples and themselves along with the instruction. So it's much more, I think, than learning PMP, which is, of course, the whole point, and preparing you for the exam. But you're also getting that instructor's life and their energy and their mentoring that week. So I would love to sit in a class with any of our instructors. Um, I obviously think they're an amazing faculty, and it's been an honor teaching next to you and every one of them.
Yeah.
Of course, everything I say is going to be biasedly positive, but it is what it is. I'm a huge nerd, and so we
Yeah,
bring.
I mean, you learned from us. We have instructor meetings every month, and you've told us before that you've learned from us too. And so,
Oh, yeah,
and it's one thing that we do. We are always kind of upskilling ourselves, right? So most of us are kind of double certed, and we have, you know, tons and tons of degrees amongst all of us. And that doesn't necessarily make a great instructor, but it does help because we are always trying to learn, right? I know most, like every single one of us, I mean, I talk to, all of our cadre all the time. And, every time we prep for a class, like that's what we're doing. We're prepping for a class. I mean, last year I taught 13. So I think altogether, I think I've taught probably close to 30 classes, maybe more than that in the last 4 years. And I'm still prepping. And that's just what we do because we owe it to you. We owe it to the veteran to give you the best experience that your investment not only can buy, but can obviously, help you in the future.
yeah, yeah. It's more of that nuanced, like the journey of getting out of the military. We very directly realize that that's a stronger current under the waves of getting your PMP. And
Yeah.
you get that with our instructors. And what I'll say too, and I don't know if we've ever talked about it, there's to me a noticeable tone with all of our instructors that we don't see ourselves as like the teacher and those the students over there. We're students.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the PMP realm or whatever class we're teaching, we're a little further down that path, but that's really it. And so we're all getting certifications and wanting to get more and constantly learning. So it's not that we've, planted a flag on the hill and say, just follow me because I know the way. It's more like, hey, let's go on an academic journey together. I think I've walked a little further in this way, so hopefully I can help the class, but we're all always learning. So I think that helps that kind of overall mentoring transition kind of process too, is it's not us versus you, it's us with us because
Yeah.
you are us, you're our successors, and we are other people's successors. And
Yeah.
so
I mean, I learned so much from every class. I always do a lessons learned register, right? Just a classic project management tool. And I learned, I learned tons from my students. I'm a better instructor because of them. And my classes benefit from the last class, right? So especially like this last virtual class that I taught, last weekend, it's like I'm starting to use more tools because I've learned from you and then other instructors, but then also students taught me things and, oh, hey, did you know that you could do this? And we want to, improve our experience over time. So you're always getting, valuable content from us. And so word of mouth is the best kind of marketing and advertisement. And that is really our bread and butter. And so, people are speaking about us for a reason, but it's because every single instructor, just like Vets2PM staff, cares about you, cares about your transition, cares about your meaningful and lucrative post-service career, whatever that means to you. So, all right.
yeah,
So go ahead.
I was just one more thing on that, I guess, is one idea is that's the kind of instructor energy that I would want. And when I see it, it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, like I can really learn here because it's not Vets to PM as a company. Like, oh yeah, come through our cycle. We'll give you the PMP spiel and then like give us your friends' numbers too. Like it's really like, hey, join us in this wonderful post-service life, and it's a journey and we're still on it too, and we can all join in it together. And that kind of mentality comes through in the instruction and in classrooms. To me, that makes all the difference. I've
Yeah.
experienced a lot of the opposite. And it is kind of a killjoy of learning and the process, but we really, and for what it's worth, I really keep an intuitive eye on that with our faculty. And again, like I'm honored to be able to teach next to all you guys. I mean, it's a really unique group of people. So that's all I
Yeah, I
wanted
mean,
to.
it's definitely a huge part of my meaningful career, like my meaningful post-service career. I, I mean, just a true story. I would not be who I am, like this Misty civilian wise, if it wasn't for being an instructor, all the students and who I get to work with on a daily basis. So that's my meaningful and lucrative post-service career. And we truly feel like we need to give that back. And that's why we're different. And so, marketing plug, that's why you should go with us.
You know,
So once you invest in your future and you decide that we are the company that is going to help you achieve your meaningful and lucrative post-service career, we want you to come to class ready and able. And so how should they do that? So you've been around, obviously, for 7+ years, so you've seen it all. And so what are the first things that students should do in order to get prepped for their PMP exam prep course?
Yeah, so some tangible things come to mind really from other students having relayed this. We have a project management fundamentals class, which, it's 2025 when we're recording this. I'm sure there's a ton out there for free that anyone can get. But our PM fundamentals class is obviously geared toward how we approach this topic as
Yeah.
well. So I would very much encourage people to watch the PM fundamentals videos. And if my memory is accurate, I think it's only like 4 videos.
Yeah, it's
We have
not
a
long.
PMP crash course as well that really tries to hit on the main points, but just from a slightly more distilled and like efficient way. So if I was really wanting to nerd out and like really get the most from the week, I would watch both of those. And then I would really think like a project, how am I going to administratively kind of manage my time during the week? And for me, it's all about like, how am I going to ensure taking in a fire hose level of information
Yeah.
and having something tangible to walk away from Friday. So to me, that is note taking. And our student guide is all PDF very deliberately. But I would get used to taking notes or highlighting on PDF. And for me, I don't like a bunch of screens. So even on a 13-inch or so screen, I would probably have that student guide on like one half and maybe a Google Doc or a Word document or some kind of note-taking document open on the other half for my freehand notes, just intuitive, anything that pops up. But the simpler you can make your note-taking, the more you can be actively engaged in that kind of narrative journey that the instructor should be taking you on. So those synapses, and I love the kind of paradox of this. It's a trust fall to say, man, if I stop trying to write down every single word during the week, because I will get burned out and may not be able to keep up. If I can let go of that idea and kind of trust paying attention to what I'm being told and what I'm seeing, intuitively highlighting just a couple notes throughout the week, it's those light bulbs that will turn back on during your own study time after the week of class.
Yeah.
So, so to distill what I mean is I would simplify how I'm going to intake knowledge that week through like note taking. Um, and that's really it. I would say if you do those things, you've covered probably 80 or 90% of the things one could do to prep. And the reason that's not 100% is because it is just a boot camp for a reason.
Yeah.
It's logically too much information to take in a week, but it's by design. So
Yeah. And
we're
when
kind
you get into class, I mean, read the description of the class. It's an exam prep course, right? We're prepping you for the exam, and every instructor is going to walk you through all of your curriculum, all of the emails that you need to pay attention to, and they're going to make sure that you're good to go for the class. You're there though because you are an experienced project manager. You're going to learn the standard, the globally recognized standard of managing projects, but it is your first pass, and so the course is designed to truly have you, inundated with all this information, take some key notes. So then when you utilize our 30-day study plan, you remember what your instructors and your colleagues said, your peers in the class. And that would be my biggest tip is, in order to stay awake and stay alert during lots and lots of information, if you're on a virtual class, camera on, ready to go, engage, participate in the chat, do the polls, do the questions, ask questions. And if you're in person, the best that you can, because we understand life, right, Garrik? You guys are professionals, the best that you can, just stay focused on the class.
Yeah, trust. I never dictate any of this for any other class, but I tell mine, without a doubt, even if it's for my personal benefit of not burning out, we will take a 5 or 10 minute break every hour. So
Yes.
like at worst, tune in for that hour, even if you're desperately waiting for a break, but you're not going to get ground into the ground or shouldn't be for 4 hours at a time. So it is
No.
this. And I tell people if it's a virtual, even in-person classes, I usually learn best like walking around. It's like do
Yep.
your thing, man. Walk around the classroom, do whatever you need. But the more you can uh, hone in on how to focus during the week, like you're saying, I think that would be good prep too. And I wanted to mention, knowing what I know now, um, cognitive performance relies so much on like glucose, water. So it sounds silly and basic, but
Oh, but you're
making
so
sure
right.
making sure you're hydrating a ton during that week.
Yep.
Like when I teach, I force myself 2 liters before lunch, 2 liters after lunch. And if I don't, man, it's so hard to even teach or pay attention and focus. So focusing on simple things like that. Hydration, you can explore some uh, alpha GPC related focus supplements. Obviously, we're not physicians, so we're not recommending any supplementation over another. But you can do your own research and see what might aid in your focus throughout the week. Um, but maybe similar, I've noticed students who are more actively engaged, obviously, with either their camera on or just participating more in discussion or any
Yep.
of those small ways. They're the ones walking away appearing more confident on Friday. So any kind of prep to kind of frankly sit and try to soak information in for 5 days straight would do someone really well. Not thinking
Yeah.
of that at all and then just getting kind of hosed for a week with information would be rough for most people. So
Yeah, and just, I will say it's important to understand what is the goal, right? And so Simon Sinek talks about it. We always talk about it. I mean, it's a big mental thing, but it's your why. And so nothing simple. Like it's not going to be simple. Earning a PMP it's complex for a reason because not everybody has one. So I think also expectation management, right? Knowing that it's an exam prep course, because unfortunately that's one sort of thing that we hear all the time is like, oh, I thought there was an exam at the end and I didn't realize it was this much. It's like, there's no exam at the end. And so it's an exam prep course. So it's very similar to a nurse going to school for 4 years and then taking an NCLEX preparation course, a lawyer going to school for 4 to 8 years and then taking a bar preparation course, right? Engineer going to school for 4 years and then taking a PE course. You are a project manager who has tons and tons of experience, and you are taking a PMP, Project Management Professional certification course. So it will be fire hose like, and that is by design. But then we provide you a 30-day study plan that literally maps out day one, do XYZ, day two, do this. And it has a really high first time pass rate, and we're not even allowed to say it anymore because it's compliance reasons, but it's pretty high first time pass rate. And that's because we're giving you that, that instruction. We know what we're talking about. We've done this for 10 years, right? And just trust the process. Remember why you're there, and that will help you get prepared. And I tell my students all the time, Garrik, and this is a true story, and people laugh at this all the time, but the first day I always say, whatever you guys need to do to stay alert, you do it. So if that means you're walking circles, if you're standing up, laying, like standing up against a wall, whatever you need to do. Second day, I had someone bring in their portable walking pad and plugged it in, and she just walked the entire class on her little portable walking pad.
Gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Yeah, you just gotta, but that kept her alert. She was completely in the class, and I thought it was funny at first, but then I saw everybody else getting on the walking pad, and there may have been a time where the instructor was on the walking pad, but playing with the class. So, all right, so that's why you should earn your PMP. We talked about why you should go with Vets2PM, and then how to get prepared for the class. So, Garrik, any last thoughts for the veterans who are considering earning a PMP and wondering who they should go with, right? Because we know the value of our program, and we call it a program for a reason. You are not just paying for a course. The investment is not just the course. The investment is the cradle to grave career transition system. We help you identify your transferable skill set. We're going to help you validate that with that 30-day study plan and training. We'll help you show and tell your skill set so other people can understand. And then we're going to connect you with internship and direct hire positions. It's so the price that you pay, just remember that is for your future. What are your last words?
Oh God. For this podcast, my last words
Yeah,
are
no.
yeah, I guess trying to sum all this up, because obviously we're gonna say go with us, is I would say, intuitively, meaning use your senses beyond your mind and your emotion, but look at the people behind the process. We are full of failure and success and the whole rainbow of emotions, and like we're real people. We went through this, and we want to, our whole heart, our whole effort, our whole energy is behind helping our clients, our students, our successors have an easier and more meaningful and more lucrative time than we did. So consider the people behind the process are my last words for the podcast.
Well said. Vets2PM wants you to achieve a meaningful and lucrative post-service career, whatever that means to you. And we help you, several different ways. And so all you have to do is ask us the question. We will give you the answer, and we will help you make your decision. But regardless, do something for you, because you are more than just a uniform. You have transferable skill sets. You are a unique value add for any organization that is lucky to get you as an employee after the military. And so you served very long to protect the liberty and freedom of everybody else. And so now it's time to enjoy the fruit of your labor. So go ahead and skill up so you can earn your meaningful and lucrative post-service career. Thanks, Garrik.
All right. Thanks, Missy.
Thanks for joining us at the Military Transition Academy. If we sparked your interest and you're ready to learn more, visit vets2pm.com. We'd love to help you prepare for a meaningful and lucrative post-service career.